Jared Cassity from Smart Transportation Division is joining us this morning. It's a union representing rail workers and others in the transportation industry. Jared, thank you for being with us. So he's not satisfied. I'm curious, rail workers, how they feel about Norfolk Southern's response so far to the first crash and the cleanup and now the second one.
Look, the response thus far is lackluster. Thank you for having me. Norfolk Southern has been less than stellar as far as a railroad goes when it comes to safety over the last few years. You look at this accident, you look at the subsequent accident that just occurred yesterday or the day before in Springfield, and what they're doing isn't good enough. To talk about East Palestine and the chemicals that are currently in the ground, they're currently may very well still be in the equipment. It's very concerning for us. Every time a train goes through, it disturbs the soil and the ballast underneath. It puts contaminants, in my opinion, into the air, and it's not been enough at this point, and the fact that they're now trying to clean the dirt one track at a time speaks to the prioritization of profit over safety. And we're extremely concerned about the exposure that our folks are going through, the citizens of East Palestine are experiencing, and we're hoping that they'll do better.
What's going on within the system? If we take a step further back, why these crashes are happening, what are some of the reasons that you think are contributing to what we've seen here in the last month?
It all goes back to operational changes in a business model called precision scheduled railroading that started forcing its way into the industry in 2017. Basically, it's a cut your way to profits business model where all of the resources are reduced from workforce of 30% approximately to storing of locomotives to the reduction in the frequency and quality of inspections. You combine all those things together and you get a predictable response of what's actually going to happen. And we're seeing that finally play out. For 5 years, we have told anybody that would listen that precision scheduled railroading was going to take a toll on not just the employees, but the public alike. And you're starting to see that play out. East Palestine was predictable. And it happened. And our immediate response was, if something doesn't change today, it's going to happen again. You had another Norfolk Southern derailment just outside of Detroit. You had a Norfolk Southern derailment just in Springfield. You had a Union Pacific derailment, a 300-car train over 3 miles long that just occurred in Nebraska. The changes they have made.
Wow, that's a lot of derailments. I did a video about the one on Springfield, and I didn't know about the others. It's like there are so many derailments. It's pretty hard to keep up, especially when there's like really no news about it or anything.
The cuts they have made are not sustainable. They are dangerous. And if they don't change now, we're going to continue to see this pattern. And I will say that we don't have time to wait on the NTSB here. The reason the railroads keep advertising or advising that they want to wait on the response from the NTSB is because they know they don't have to take or accept the recommendations of the NTSB. And in fact, if you look back through the history of it, very rarely do the railroads individually or unilaterally adopt an NTSB's recommendation. And so that's their game plan here, is to let time run its course, let people forget over a period of.
This is why we need the federal government to like take over the railroad companies. Yeah, there's no point in having like some kind of agency that has like no legal powers over these corporations when they do wrong, when we could be having the government themselves regulating these companies and controlling them. It's these private companies are showing that they are no good at running these companies.
Time what's actually happening. And by the time the NTSB does make its recommendation, it no longer will be at the forefront. They can keep doing what they're doing, and we're going to just continue risking the public the way that we're doing. And so our position at this point is things have to change. They have to change today. We have got to have more legislation, and we have got to have regulation to put an end to precision scheduled railroading, to get our trains right-sized back down to a manageable length, and to get the weight and the amount of cars in these trains to a manageable place as well.
One thing you said there, Jared, that caught my attention a moment ago was that you guys have been shouting this from the rooftop. You've been telling Norfolk Southern that workers are concerned. Are they empowered now to share their concerns more publicly? Are they afraid if they do so, they'll lose their job? What are they telling you?
No, they're still very afraid. I mean, to some extent, the empowerment is there, but the actual reality is they know if they speak up, At the very least, they're going to be harassed or intimidated by management, and at the very most, they're going to lose their job. And it's
And we can't expect the Biden administration to side with the workers because so far the Biden administration has been siding with the railroad companies, like when the railroad workers went on strike.
it's concerning. And the railroads like to tout that we've got all these whistleblower protections and other things, but they don't really. And the way that the whistleblower works in the industry, if someone gets fired, they're going to be without a job and without pay for years. And so, even though there is a legal process to maybe remedy that, the actual effect and adverse effect it has on that employee and their family is just tragic. And so, it's always a deterrent to not speak up. While they are empowered, I would agree they feel stronger about their position. They absolutely are not able to speak freely the way they should about what's going on because they know ultimately it's going to be pain for them in the end from their employer.
Thank you for